Hello and welcome back. In today's video we are gonna build an octave mandolin. I've never done this before, so it's gonna be kind of fun, hopefully, and interesting. It's gonna be a gift for Christmas to one of my friends who wants to learn how to play one, basically. And I think it's gonna be a fun thing to show you when I build it, so therefore we're gonna do it. I already have a body blank from a guitar that I was gonna make for a customer a couple of years ago. It's here. It's based on one of my own designs. All I've done is made it a little bit smaller because the octave mandolin is a little bit smaller than a guitar. And so we can't really do anything more to this body right now because we need the neck first so that we can make a template and cut out the pocket for the neck. And then after that we'll go to the next step of like putting in a pickup and a bridge and things like that. I'm recording this as I'm building this thing, but I'll give it to him before Christmas and then I'll upload this after Christmas, basically, because I know he's watching my videos. And you can write in the comments below, Peter, if you want to, what you think of the instrument. Anyway, let's get on with making the guitar neck. Okay, so here I have a piece of wood and I'm going to put a straight line on it to begin with. So let's just put it. I'm going to put a straight line. That's the middle. Like so. And now I'm going to measure out 4 millimeters on each side and do 2 new straight lines. Because I have here a template for a neck. And if I put this a little bit to the side of the straight line, you see there, you can see the straight line. If I put it a little bit on the side like that and cut this side, and then I put it a little bit to the side like this and cut this side, I can get it to be 4 strings instead of 6 strings, because I want to make this less thick neck. And I think that might be an easy way of doing it without having to make a new template and without having to complicate things too much. I can also use the headstock with the string alignment and everything and just use it to put down 4 strings. I'm going to remove some wood that way. So on this side I'm going to write down 4 millimeters, right about there. And then I can just do what I've already done before, which is hold the pencil up to that mark and drag it along the edge of the wood. And then I can turn it around and mark out 4 millimeters again. Just hold it up to the line and hold the wood. And now I have 3 center lines, and so I can just put this to that center line, cut it out, put it to that center line, cut it out, and then I'll put it in the middle, like this, and I'll route the channel for the truss rod. Actually, I should maybe do the truss rod first, because I have the center line and everything is square. But yes, let's continue. Okay, so I have my fence here. Everything is put to the center line of the blank. I've put my depth in. I know I've made a mark for where I'm going to start. I'm just going to run this because this side is parallel to this, so I'm going to get a straight line, cut it down, and we'll be back when I've done that. Now I have the template off-centered, and I'm going to route this side. I'm going to move the clamps around so that I get around to them, and then I'm going to switch to the other side and do that as well. The router has a bearing. The router has a bearing on it there that lets me follow along here. So let's just do this, see what happens. Okay, so here's the neck. I've drilled some pilot holes in it for the tuners. I hope everything is correct. I have the center line in the middle here. It might not be able to see that, but there's 3 lines, and the one in the middle is the one we're going to use. I've saved the block on the end here because it has the 3 center lines as well. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is put some wood glue down here, and then I'm just gonna clamp this in place following the center line here. And I have my clamping coil here, so I'm just gonna do this quickly without any issues, hopefully. Okay, so here is the neck right now, and as you can see, hopefully, the fretboard is hanging out over the edge, and we have some frets in it, so this is problematic. Now the reason why it's like this is because I made this fretboard for a guitar, and now I'm going to use it for this instead. So, because I'm lazy, I want to do an experiment. I have these blades that I've made. Come on, camera, focus. Anyway, I have these blades that I've made for metal sawing. They have super fine tooth, and hopefully I will be able to just go next to this and just cut away the excess. We'll see what happens, and if it all fails, I'll just have to refret it. So yeah, let's do this and see what happens. I think that went rather well, actually. A little bit slow and steady wins the race, I suppose. Now I'm just going to do the other side, and then I'm going to clean this up with a file, just smooth it out to make it nice and even. There's about maybe somewhere around a mil, half a mil of material left to take away, but it will, yeah. Hopefully it will, yeah, something. Okay, so now the neck is basically done. You can see it's just a block. We're obviously gonna have to shape it a bit, but it's looking pretty good right now. Obviously some more finessing to make it perfect, and also it needs to be round and not square, even though I kind of like it square. But I don't think I would like that when we actually go to playing it. Anyway, the reason why we made the neck first before we did anything on the body was because now we can use this to make a template. All we need to basically do is just put the neck on something like this. I'm gonna put it like this, hold it in place. I'm gonna take a pen, we're gonna draw around it like this, and then I'm gonna cut this out, but I'm gonna cut like a mill on the inside of the line I drew, and then I'm gonna slowly creep up to the place where this neck just fits in, and then I'll show you the next step after that, because we need to put a center line on this, and I'll show you how I do that. But first, let's just see if we can cut this out real quick. And then I'm gonna use a rasp. I'm using my Japanese rasp because that's a good one to use. Okay. Just gonna clean this up a little bit. Something like that. Now let's test it and see if it fits. And it doesn't fit, which is good, because if it fitted, I'd be worried I'd made it too big. So let's just go back and reshape it a little bit more. Okay, so let's see if we can fit it in. And it just precisely so that it doesn't fit in. Now we just have to go back and reshape it just a little bit more. Something like that. Now we're cooking. Now the neck fits in this, and it's super snug. I have to really push it to get it in there, which is good. That's what we want. Now the next part is putting this over to the underside is up. Take a pen, and because this neck is a two-piece, I have a center line in the middle that I can just follow. So I can just put this ruler on the neck, follow up that seam. Gotta be careful here. If you don't have a center line, you can measure there, divide it in half, make a mark, divide it in half, make a mark, connect the lines, and you'll have a center line. So, and now we have the template, and all we need to do is you need to connect this line to the top and this line here to the top, so that we can connect them to the front of the body. On the back it's pretty simple. You just hold the square like this and you just connect the line. I hope you just connect the line. I hope you can see what I'm doing. In the inside here it's a little bit more fiddly. You have to hold it at an angle like this, but it will work too, as long as you are patient and try to hold everything at the same time. Something like that. And now we can just move that line up here. And this line here up. And we can connect these two lines as well. Now, because everything that I've just made is, you know, a little bit on the fly and it's not necessarily 100% symmetrical, this neck might fit in this way, but not this way. So I'm just going to take this side and write top on it. So I know. I'm probably never going to use this template again, but it's a good thing to do anyway. Okay, let's go on to the next part. Okay, so the body is clamped down, the template is clamped down, the router is on top. All we need to do is we need to decide how far down to route this so the neck can sit in comfortably. And all I do is I measure the neck, and I remove something like a little bit more than the fretboard, I think will do fine. Something like that. And then, because the bit is touching the body right now, it is at 0. So I just take the adjustment lever that I have on the back here. Wait, I'll move it around so you can see. Hopefully there's an adjustment lever here. And I just add in this measurement here, like that. I tighten it down. Now the router won't be able to cut further down than this, so I don't have to think about it that much more. Now all I'm going to do is put on some ear protection and start hogging away this. So now it's hogged out, I can just take out the clamps and remove the template. And I can see we have a bit of a tear out right here, but that doesn't matter because we can smooth this over. And we have a little bit of chunk there that I missed. So we're just going to take and cut that away like this. And now the neck should just fit there, something like that. To make sure I don't drill further than I need to, I put a ruler. It's a little bit hard to see because things are clamped down in a stupid way, and I'm sorry about that. I put a ruler parallel to the long drill bit that I have, and I make a line on top of the guitar, like that. And then I take a piece of masking tape and I put it on the drill bit where it meets the body. And then I take my drill and I reverse. I pull it out. And then I can put the drill bit in place and I can see how far down the body I've drilled. And then I can move the tape because I can see now that the drill bit has not moved as far as I want it to. So I can move the drill bit to where I want it, and I can put the tape, and now I can continue drilling all the way down, and hopefully it will turn out great. Okay, we're getting closer to gluing in the neck, but first we have to route the cavity for the pickup, because the neck will be in the way for the router to move. So it's very important to learn these things. I've drawn a line here, I've drawn one line here, that's where the drill bit goes. I've drawn one line here, that's where I want the pickup, and one line here where the bridge is going to go. I have a template here somewhere. I have a template here for my pickup, and I'm just going to line these lines up, clamp it down in place, and route this out, because I have one of these rail humbuckers, mini humbuckers, that I think will go nicely with this guitar. And since I don't have like a pickup that has four pieces, doesn't have 4 poles for individual strings like you maybe should have, I think one of these with the rails will look more natural than having 6 poles sticking out. So we're just gonna find the center line. We're gonna make sure it's nice and even, and that it's parallel to this line on the inside of the cavity, and that the center line on the template and the center line on the pickup is correct. I could also, maybe it would be cool, put it in a tilted position. I don't know. I'm gonna think about that a little bit, and then I'm gonna do this. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I had to switch template because I need a template that covers the entire pickup and not just the part that sticks out. And the template I just showed was for pickguards and not for making holes in the body. So we're gonna go with this template instead, and we're just gonna make a straight lined one. I'm just gonna do some relief cuts so that my bit don't have to take too much of the heat. Okay, so now I'm gonna start routing, and I've used the step and the stop on the side to make sure I don't go too far. I have the template clamped down with professional high-grade double-sided tape. Ta-da! So now I'm going to do the round over. I have the neck clamped down. I have done a curve here in black. It's where the neck meets the body, so I don't route any further than there. I have my router here, and in it I have a round over bit. I can touch it now because it's not plugged into the machine. I mean, the machine is not plugged into the wall. And now I'm just going to I have set the depth. I'm just going to round over, just going this way and going that way. I'm going to have to move this clamp a little bit and do the upper part, but hopefully I'll be able to do the entire neck. So let's just get it over with and see where we are after this, because we're getting close. We're getting close to being able to glue the neck in. So hopefully we can do this soon, because it's getting kind of late and I'd like it to dry overnight. Now we just have to remove this tiny little bit in the middle and smooth out these edges here. And then we can clamp it in. Okay, so I round over the neck
saw a little bit of how I did that. It's not that complicated, and at some point I'll build an entire guitar from scratch and I'll show you guys how I do that. But now it's time to glue in the neck. This neck is so well fitted that I don't really need clamps, but I don't like to, you know, live dangerously or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I mean, I do love living dangerously, but yeah. Never mind. What we're going to do is we're going to use a clamp anyway. And we're just going to smear some of this glue around. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Smear some of the glue around and just push it into place. And then we're just gonna attach a clamp. I'm using a lollipop to make sure I don't press the frets. Something like this. And then we're gonna see if we can't get in there and clean up some of the glue squeeze. So now I'm gonna drill out the cavity for the controls. And what I've done is I've gone with a pencil to get an even line along the body here. I've moved in about 2 centimeters, maybe 2.5. I eyeballed it. Then I took the plate that I'm going to use on the back and I put it up against the line where I think I might want the controls. I drew a line around. I came in a bit from where the screws are going to go, and then I took the measurement of a control pot and I found the center. And now I'm just going to drill these holes. I'm just going to drill as straight as I can. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but I drilled through and then I put the plate back on and I drew around it. And I just made sure that the plate was lining up so I knew that I was covering the hole and had equal measurements around from the hole. And now I'm just going to take my router and I have a depth stop that is set to the thickness of the plate so that when I hit this stop I won't go down any further. And now I'm just going to freehand take away up to this line that I've drawn around. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but hopefully you can. Now, you can take this plate and see if it fits. Which it does. It looks perfectly fine. And the thing is, it's not perfect. But the thing is, it doesn't need to be perfect. Because we needed to be able to get our fingers in under, pop it out. And I'm gonna sand it a little bit with sandpaper to make it a little bit nicer and even. But I will do that when I sand the rest of the body. Now we need to go back and route out the rest. And to do that, we are gonna make measurements and draw around here to make sure we have a lip like this. there we have the lip, and then we have to go like this, put it in, and then draw in these lines, like something like that. And then we know where we're basically gonna drill, so we can draw freehand around. I would recommend you make templates if you're gonna do these things normally, but I don't really feel it's necessary if you know what you're doing and if you are making a one-off. But if I were gonna ever build more of these, I would start making templates. So now we can take the router and we can follow these lines and remove more. And first I'm just gonna try to make it nice and neat, enough for the bearing that you can then have an edge to follow. Okay, so now I have a perfect spot to follow around. So now I can just take my drill and I can shock away as much as I can and make room for the router. Now I can just take my router and I can take away as much as I can. Now I've chugged away the most of it, and so I'm just gonna try to figure out the depth that is as far as I am possibly can go. And then I might actually switch this out for a smaller one, because as you can see, it might need to be able to go on the edge. You can see that this is shorter. Okay, so next I need to drill a pilot hole through here for the output jack. I've made a little mark there. I just measured this thickness and divided it in half. And now I'm just going to drill a pilot hole. I start out parallel to the body, and then when I get in a bit, I'm gonna turn it in the hole towards the cavity that I just made. Just like that. And because it's just a pilot hole, so it's not that big yet, this little mark will disappear once we enlarge the hole. So now we're gonna stain this guitar body. I have here some lacquer-based stain, and we're gonna put it on, and we're just basically gonna just cover the entire guitar. The only thing we have to care about is the edge right here, where we have to be super careful. And so we're just gonna take some stain like this, and we're just gonna cover it. And I want to stain it so that it feels this really, really black. So I might be having to go over it a couple of times. And if you wonder what the pink on the side is, it's a mahogany wood filler. I wanted to fill the wood on the sides a little bit. And I'm just gonna paint the inside of this cavity. And I walk up as close as I'm comfortable with this pencil, and I'll switch out for a very fine one and do the edge. And now, just because it's a little bit uneven, I'm just gonna smear it around with some tissue, And that's just to remove some of the stroke marks left from the pencil. But as you can probably see, it's a little bit like not completely covered. So now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna cover it again, and then I'm gonna come back again and do that until I am 100% satisfied with how the top looks, and then I'll come and do the back as well. So see you in a bit when I'm finished. So I painted the guitar black and then I lacquered it, and now I'm gonna sand the top a little bit just to even it out because there are some bumps in the finish. I don't know if you can see them, there are not that many, but we're just gonna sand it lightly. So take some sandpaper and we just start doing like this. And as you can see, some areas are dull and some are still shiny. And what you want to do, if you want a perfectly flat mirror-like surface, which I'm not 100% sure I'm going for on this guitar, I might just go for knocking off some of the high spots. We'll see. Anyway, if you want a perfect mirror surface like one of those production guitars that you buy in the store, then you need to make sure the entire area is dull. Okay, so now I'm gonna polish the top. So I'm just gonna put some polishing compound on it, like this. And then I'm just gonna smear it around with this sponge. Something like this. Just smear it out a little bit. Something like this maybe. And then I'm just gonna use my drill and push in. Don't push too hard, but you have to start some friction, but not too much. This is sort of a feel thing, so it's kind of complicated to explain. You'll get better at it the more you do. Practice. Also, never stand still. Never go like this. Always go like this. Okay, so now I'm gonna attach the bridge. So I have a piece of string that goes through the bridge on one saddle, around out the other. Both strings go up the neck. I have drawn a line on some masking tape where the double to the 12th is, because otherwise the bridge might not be where it can get intonated. So I'm just going to hold this here and I'm going to move the bridge back and forth until I have what I think is equal amounts of space on both sides for the string. So I'm just holding it taut on this side over here, and I'm moving this bridge back. So where the base plate is basically in the middle of this line, and I move it up and down to make sure I find a place where I think it's a good place to have it. Maybe something like that. Move it down a little bit. And then I'm just gonna hold it, let go, move my hand, mark out where to drill. Something like that. Now I can punch those holes and drill them out, and then we can go on to the next step, which is drilling the ground wire and attaching this. Okay, so Now I've drilled out the holes for the screws that will keep the bridge in place. Made a hole that goes from under into the cavity where the controls are. And I'm going to put this yellow wire here. I usually will use a black one, but I don't have any black wires, so I'm going to have to go and buy some. But I don't have time because I really need to get this going, because Christmas is just around the corner as of recording this. And so I'm just going to hold this wire here, and then I'm going to pinch it under the bridge so that it gets stuck up against the underside, and that will be grounding the bridge. So if you wonder what grounding the bridge is, it just means having a ground wire going to the bridge. If you have, for example, a Telecaster, it will be a ground wire to a metal plate on the back of the bridge pickup. If you have a Strat, there will be a claw with springs on it and a ground wire. And if you have a Les Paul, it will be basically like this, except the bridge looks a little bit different. And there are a bunch of other guitars, and they have similar designs. If you're playing an electric guitar, you've gotta ground the bridge. And if you have a guitar that makes a weird buzzing sound or hum sound, and then you touch the bridge and it pops a little bit, and as you lift your finger it goes from buzzing to silence, it most likely means you have a ground issue. And I feel like, from my own experience looking at people's guitars, most of the time it's the bridge ground wire. Sometimes it's just a wire in the cavity that is broken, but most of the time it's actually the ground wire to the bridge. So, yeah, now you know. And now there is just a couple of turns left, and so I go extra slowly. I make sure the ground wire is underneath where it's supposed to be, and I tighten the screws down, and I just go back and forth until I feel like they are firmly in place. You don't want to tighten the screws so much that they break, so doing it by hand, you can drill with a drill and then just do the very last part by hand. But it's very good to do it the last part by hand, because you can really feel if the screws are really tightened or if they are so in there that they might break. This is probably good. Now I'm gonna just see if I can find the ground wire, and I'm gonna pull at it a little bit. And it's in there. So, yeah, on to the next part. So first, I'll put in this foam block. I'm just gonna try and press it in place. It's a little snug in here. Something like that. And then I'll try to get the pickup in. And I'll put 2 screws down, like so, and then I'll just push it in and tighten the screws. I'm just going to adjust the pickup, and we'll start off with having it a little bit lower than we might need, and then we'll just raise it when we do the setup. So now the pickup is in. Okay, so here is the electronics. I did it outside of the guitar body so I could show you what I'm doing. Here is the volume pot and here is the tone pot. I hope you can see everything. Here on the back I have 2 wires grounded. One wire, that is the blue one, that grounds the 2 pot together so that they are both grounded. A black one that leads down here. This black one is going to the output jack. If you look at an output jack, they basically look like this. One here will connect to the sleeve or shaft of the cable that you plug into your guitar. This part here, that's ground. The other part, this tip here, will connect to the tip, and that's your lead signal. That's important because you need to ground everything. Here we have a capacitor. It's connected from the middle leg to ground, so that when you roll, you decide how much you want to go to ground through the capacitor. We have a red little cable here that I hope you can see. Just connects from the last leg of this to the first leg of this. I hope you can see it. I have grounded the volume pot's last leg to the back, so the pot is grounded. That means that you decide how much of the signal, when you turn the knob, goes to ground instead of to the other leg. And that's what we call lowering the volume. This yellow cable here goes to the output jack, just like the black one over here. Where this red cable is connected, the lead wire from the pickup is going to go. In my case, it's a blue wire. The ground wire is going to get connected here to the back of the pot with all the other ground wires. That means that you can decide if you want the signal to go from the red wire to the yellow wire, or if you want it to go to the leg where it's just grounded off. We're also, if you remember, have a yellow wire from the bridge. That is actually a ground wire. It might be a little bit confusing because I used the yellow one, but that's because I was running out of black wire. It's also going to get connected here. That's all connections you need to know, and as long as you follow this, it will work. Wiring a guitar is not complicated at all. You just need to learn to do it, basically. There are other things you can do with the guitar that makes it more complicated, but if you can learn this and master this so it's perfect, then you've come a long way. I'm going to put this into the guitar, and then I'll show you the next step, which is going to be to attach this output jack. Okay, so here we have 2 wires coming out of the body, like I've shown before. And first we are just gonna cut away some of the plastic to reveal the copper on the inside, like so. You don't need to reveal that much, and there are tools to do this more easy. You don't need to use a scissor. I have the tool, I just have it somewhere else at the moment and I don't know where. Then we're gonna pre-tin the wire, which is just, we put solder on the exposed wire before we connect it to anything. So if you're watching some video on YouTube and you're like, what does pre-tin mean? It just means putting tin on the tip of the exposed wire. Something like that. Now we're going to attach the jack, and as you can see, the jack goes into the female connector, and the tip is connected to a sleeve that goes to one, and the middle is connected to one sleeve. And the shaft is ground, the tip is lead. And so this black wire is ground. Here I have a jack that I'm going to use. You can see the silver plate in the middle. That's where ground is going to go. So we're just going to see if we can hook it in. It's a little bit difficult maybe to see what I'm doing. But I hook it in and I melt it in place. And just by heating it up, I can make the solder melt into the piece. I'm going to add some solder to the top, just because I want to be sure I get a nice connection. And if that's the ground, that means that this is the lead, because you only have 2 connections, you only have 2 wires. So if one goes to one, then the other must go to the other. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is just press this into place, something like that. Hold it so it lines up on the sides here. Sorry if this is hard to see, it's difficult to fill. And first we're just going to drill a hole here and put a screw in. Something like that. We don't force it down all the way because we need to make sure that this line is exactly where we want it. And so we're just gonna put it into place, hold it, and drill the opposite side. And then we're gonna screw this down as well. And now that all these screws are in place and everything is lining up the way it's supposed to, we can drive them all the way down into the body and secure them correctly. Okay, so here it is. It's all finished. The bridge is in place. The knobs are in place. The electronics all work. You can play the guitar or mandolin. Sorry. Anyway, it's intonated and everything is the way it's supposed to be. It's all done. All I have to do is stretch the strings a little bit because it will help the guitar stay in tune a little bit more. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to record a tiny little video of me playing a little bit on it. But keep in mind, this one is a right-handed one. I'm a left-handed player, so I can't really play on anything upside down. And also, I don't play mandolin, so yeah. Forgive me for playing something that sounds completely garbage. I'm just gonna play some tunes, basically, or notes. Yes. And we'll see what happens. And the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this up like a Christmas gift, because that's what it is. And so, if you like this, please let me know in the comments below. It's been fun to build this, so I hope it's been fun to watch me build it. And if you have any questions of things I did, or if there were any things I skipped over, try to make this video as short as I could, because I felt like one video for this build was enough. I go into more details in other build videos, and most of the things in this video was things I did for guitar building anyway. This is the first, as I said in the beginning of the video, this is the first mandolin I've ever made, so if you have any mandolin questions that are not related to this particular instrument, I don't really know that much about them, sorry. Let's play it and see what it sounds like. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you like the videos.
Thank you.